Your mind isn't broken, it's overwhelmed. All those racing thoughts, looping worries, and relentless inner noise aren't signs of failure, they're signals. They point to a nervous system that's been stuck in survival mode for too long, trying to protect you from threats that may no longer exist but still feel real. You don't need to fix your thoughts or force your mind to go silent. That only creates more pressure. The real path forward is much gentler and much wiser. It's about creating internal conditions where calm becomes possible, where your nervous system feels safe enough to soften, and where your mind no longer has to scream to be heard. In this space, we're not chasing perfection, we're practicing presence, and it starts with 5 simple daily habits that can steadily reduce the mental chaos and help you reconnect to a quieter, steadier place within. Not by force, not overnight, but through consistency, care, and compassion from the inside out. Just a gentle reminder before we begin, this content is here to support, not replace, your mental health journey. If you're in pain or need deeper help, please reach out to a therapist or professional who can walk with you. Habit 1. Externalize the internal brain dump every morning. Your mind works like a browser with too many tabs open, constantly running, constantly processing, constantly cluttered. When you wake up, your brain is already active. Unfinished tasks, old worries, random ideas, emotional echoes from yesterday. This internal noise isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's simply overflow. And overflow needs an outlet. That's where morning brain dumping comes in. Each morning before the day grabs hold of you, take a few minutes to empty your mental clutter onto the page. No filter, no structure, just write. Whether it's a racing thought, an anxious plan, a lingering fear, or even something petty and irrational, it all belongs. Let your mind spill freely, like draining a glass too full to hold anything new. This simple act has a powerful psychological effect. It creates space. When thoughts are locked in your head, they bounce around and build pressure. But when you put them on paper, you externalize them. You see them more clearly, you hold them at a distance, and suddenly you're not carrying them alone. This helps you regain perspective and regulate the emotional charge behind those thoughts. The key here is to not edit. Don't try to make it coherent or polished. This isn't a journal entry or a productivity tool. It's an emotional pressure release. Let it be messy. Let it contradict itself. Let it reflect exactly where you are, without judgment. This unfiltered honesty is where clarity begins, and where mental noise starts to settle. Backed by research and expressive writing, particularly the work of psychologist James Pennebaker, this practice has been shown to reduce anxiety, improve mood, and even strengthen immune function. The mechanism is simple but profound. When you give language to emotion, you allow the brain to process it more effectively. What was abstract and overwhelming becomes tangible and manageable. So start tomorrow. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Open a notebook or blank document and write. Even if it feels awkward at first, keep going. Over time, this small daily ritual becomes a powerful anchor, a way to meet your mind each morning with honesty, release, and compassion. What might shift in your life if you gave your thoughts a place to land before the world rushed in? Habit 2. Regulate before you ruminate. Start the day with stillness. Before your mind even has a chance to form a complete thought, your nervous system is already responding to yesterday's stress, last night's sleep, the light from your phone screen, or the sheer anticipation of what's coming. That early morning rush of thoughts? Often it's not a thinking problem, it's a regulation problem. A dysregulated nervous system creates a chaotic mind. That's why one of the most powerful things you can do for mental clarity is simple. stillness first. Before emails, before messages, before scrolling, take 5 to 10 minutes to ground yourself. This isn't about achieving enlightenment. It's about creating a buffer between your inner world and the outer one. When you give your nervous system a moment to settle, your mind follows. There are many ways to begin the day with stillness, and none of them require perfection. A few minutes of focused breath work, even just deep, slow inhales and longer exhales, sends signals of safety to your brain. Gentle stretching can reconnect you to your body, loosening tension before it spirals into anxiety. Sitting in quiet meditation, even if your mind wanders, can anchor your awareness and bring you back to center. This moment of calm isn't about suppressing your thoughts. It's about slowing the speed at which they overwhelm you. When you start your day grounded, you shift from reaction to intention. Instead of being pulled by every thought or external demand, you begin from a place of calm presence. That changes the entire tone of your day and your ability to handle stress with resilience. Stillness is not a luxury reserved for the spiritually elite or the super disciplined. It's a basic form of emotional hygiene, a nervous system reset that protects your peace before the chaos creeps in. In a world that demands constant stimulation, choosing stillness is an act of radical self-protection and clarity. So tomorrow morning, don't just reach for your phone. Reach inward first. 5 quiet minutes might not change your circumstances, but they will change how you meet them. How might your mind respond if you gave it stillness before stimulation? Habit 3. Name the voice. Don't believe every thought. Your mind produces thoughts constantly, some helpful, some distorted, some downright cruel. But here's what most people never learn. Your thoughts are not facts. They are mental events shaped by past experiences, emotional states, conditioning, and fear. And when left unexamined, those thoughts solidify. They become internal law, unquestioned, unchallenged, and deeply limiting. That's why naming the voice inside your head is such a powerful habit. When you start labeling your inner dialogue, this is anxiety talking. This is my trauma voice. This is shame, not truth. You create distance between you and your thought. That space is everything. It's the difference between drowning in the narrative and watching it float by from the shore. This technique, rooted in cognitive behavioral therapy, is a cornerstone of emotional regulation. It interrupts cognitive fusion, the psychological term for when you become entangled with your thoughts. Naming the voice helps you diffuse. It lets you step back and observe instead of obey. It moves you from reaction to reflection. Let's be clear, this isn't about silencing your mind or pretending the thought doesn't exist. It's about disarming its authority. Saying this is my inner critic doesn't mean the thought disappears, but it does remind you this voice isn't the final word. It's one perspective, and often a distorted one. The act of naming pulls the power plug from automatic, self-sabotaging thought loops. With practice, you'll start to recognize patterns. How anxiety always predicts worst-case scenarios. How shame distorts your worth. How trauma hijacks your sense of safety. Over time, naming these voices doesn't just regulate your response. It deepens your self-awareness. You begin to meet your mind with compassion instead of fear. So the next time a thought storms in and tries to run the show, pause. Ask yourself, who's speaking right now? Label it. Observe it. Let it pass. You are not your thoughts. You are the space that notices them. How might your day shift if you stopped believing everything your mind says? Habit 4. One input at a time. Protect your mental diet. Your mind isn't chaotic because it's weak. It's chaotic because it's overwhelmed. In a world of constant stimulation, your brain is bombarded with inputs. News, notifications, messages, background noise, scrolling, multitasking. It's like trying to drink from 10 fire hoses at once. No wonder your thoughts feel scattered, your focus fractured, and your emotions numb or overloaded. One of the most underrated but powerful habits for mental clarity is simple: reduce input clutter. That means protecting your mental diet with the same care you would your physical health. What you consume mentally matters. It shapes your attention, your nervous system, your mood, even your sense of self. And most of us are consuming far too much, far too fast, without realizing the cost. Start by cutting out multitasking. Your brain isn't built for it. What we call multitasking is actually task switching, and it drains cognitive resources, heightens stress, and fragments your attention. Try monotasking instead. One thing fully. You give it your presence. Whether it's eating, writing, or walking, do it without adding extra noise. Slowness is sanity. Then mute the noise, literally and digitally. Turn off non-essential notifications. Close tabs you're not using. Step away from the never-ending scroll of fast, dopamine-spiking content that keeps your nervous system wired. These micro hits of stimulation seem harmless, but they erode your attention span and keep your mind agitated, never settling, never still. Schedule regular dopamine breaks. Intentional time away from rapid content, bright screens, or loud environments. These moments of quiet are not empty, they are regenerative. When you lower the volume of the world, you create space to actually hear yourself, to notice what you feel, what you need, what you've been avoiding in the rush of constant input. Your mind needs silence the way your body needs sleep. Not forever, just long enough to reset, realign, and return to center. So ask yourself, what am I consuming mentally each day, and how is it shaping the way I think, feel, or relate to myself? What would happen if you simplified your input to hear your own thoughts more clearly? Habit 5. Create small rituals of certainty. In a world that feels unpredictable, overwhelming, or just loud, your nervous system craves one thing above all else: safety. Not in the dramatic sense, but in the subtle, daily cues that signal you're okay, you're safe, you're held. That's where rituals come in, not as decoration, but as regulation. Small, consistent actions that anchor you in the present and provide a sense of structure amid chaos. These rituals don't have to be dramatic or time-consuming. In fact, the smaller and more repeatable they are, the more effective they become. Think of tea at the same hour every day. A short walk at dusk, no phone, just presence. Lighting a candle and journaling for 5 minutes in silence. These acts are signals to your body: familiarity, rhythm, safety. They soothe your system and quiet the background noise of life. From a neurological perspective, these routines function as anchors. They create a predictable experience in an unpredictable world, and that's gold for a nervous system stuck in fight or flight. When everything feels like it could fall apart at any second, the brain clings to anything that feels repeatable. That one ritual becomes a lifeline, a reminder that not everything is chaotic. What makes these rituals powerful is their intentionality. It's not about checking off a habit or copying a wellness influencer. It's about choosing something just for you, a gesture of care, done with consistency. The brain begins to associate that moment with calm, and over time the ritual becomes a neural pathway for peace. It's not magic. It's conditioning, gentle, healing conditioning. The beauty is that even when everything else is uncertain, your job, your emotions, your relationships, you still have this one thing. That one moment that's just yours. No one has to see it. No one has to approve of it. It becomes your psychological refuge, a daily act of self-respect. Ask yourself, What's one small ritual I could build into my day that feels like stability, not pressure? Not to optimize or achieve, but to calm, to center, to regulate. Start there. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. A chaotic mind isn't broken. It's overwhelmed, overstimulated, and overprotected. You don't need to fight your thoughts, silence them, or force peace into place. What your mind truly needs is space to breathe, stillness to settle, and gentle structure to feel safe. When you shift from controlling your thoughts to caring for your nervous system, everything begins to change. You're not here to shut your brain off. You're here to retrain it to feel safe, to stop seeing every moment as a threat. That safety doesn't come from force or speed. It comes from consistency, from showing up each day and saying, here is a quiet moment. Here is something familiar. Here is something I can control. Bit by bit, your mind will learn to soften its grip. Start small, one habit at a time. Maybe it's 5 minutes of silence. Maybe it's writing down the noise in your head. Maybe it's drinking tea at the same hour each day. Whatever it is, commit to it, not for perfection, but for peace, because peace isn't passive. It's not something you wait for. It's something you practice daily, deliberately, and quietly. And over time, it becomes who you are.